Japan holds a special place in the hearts of so many motorsports fans, largely because of one circuit, Suzuka. Owned by Honda and a mainstay on Formula One calendars, Suzuka Circuit boasts a rare crossover and about any kind of corner you can imagine. Technical, winding hairpins and long straights dot the course and make it a tough one on the North American Racing League calendar for drivers to find speed at. Welcome to Bits.TV and the virtual Suzuka Japan. My name is Andrew Cardinale IV with Daniel Hall alongside, and it's a pleasure to join you for continuing coverage of NARL GT3 Season 6. Tonight's coverage is brought to you by Muradness, JS Consulting, and Screw Compressor Service Incorporated. And this racetrack is a beast for these drivers to try and tackle today, Daniel. This is a really difficult place to get right, especially in a car like these. These GT3 cars are not easy to get around this tight, technical, winding Suzuka circuit. From the S's, Dunlop, Degner, every corner on this racetrack is difficult. The only easy part is the straightaways.
This track's going to present an amazing challenge for these drivers tonight. As we look at the track map, you already touched on the S's, this right, left, all the way through till turn 7. It's going to be tough on the tires. These drivers are going to have to maintain those for the rest of the lap. You got Dunlop there, leaves you into the Degner curve. That is such a tricky technical section. You got to be really precise to hit the apex right in the first one so you can set yourself up, get a good run out of 9, leading to the first real passing zone on the track into turn 11, that hairpin turn. We saw that last week, some action there in the hairpin at Long Beach. Another one here on this track tonight, and you might look for some more exciting moves into that corner. That leads you to 200R, long sweeping, flat out right-handed turn into Spoon, another technical section. Really tough with that double apex, and really need to focus on getting a good exit. Long run down to 130R, which is flat in these cars, so it's gonna be another section where it's flat, but you don't want to go through there too wide, and you don't really want to have any incidents there. It might get your car upset a little bit, go off the track, can really end your day prematurely. And then that leads to a chicane, 16, 17, another passing zone we might see today. Drivers can really set it up the inside, but they got to be careful because they can get hung up on the outside. But then out of turn 17 into 18 and down the front stretch again, completes the lap, and these drivers are going to have to make good time all day through those corners.
Going to be a tough one. 18 quarters here at Suzuka. Definitely, these drivers have their difficult tasks ahead of them. I want to take a look at point standings coming into this evening, coming into this round, the 5th round now on the schedule. We'll talk about the schedule in a moment. But you see Kevin Cantonio with the lead by 15 markers ahead of his teammate Jeremy Gonsalves. And you and I were talking a little bit pre-broadcast about just how significant that gap is, with a top 5 or so that are as tight as they are. You know, down in D2, we would say 25 points. That's about the cutoff, the top 5 in standings. But it really feels different in this class, and especially with Kevin Cantonio, because he's been so consistent. I find it hard to consider anybody but Jeremy Gonsalves and Scott Reister in contention for this championship, even though it's only an extra 2 points back to Brockway, another 2 back to Rayleigh. Those are slim margins between those 4, Gonsalves, Reister, Brockway, and Rayleigh, but they're just so far back when you consider how consistent Car 15 has been. I believe only top 3s this season, and potentially only wins and second places so far. I think that might be the case. I believe he was second to Brockway and second to Rayleigh. So when you consider a driver who's got an average finish of better than 1.5, I think you're really working against a large force there, and we'll see how these last couple of races go. Of course, the next round out at Phillip Island will be double points with 2 winning opportunities, 2 points earning opportunities. But if Kevin Cantonio continues his consistency tonight, I really feel like despite some drop weeks, he may wrap this thing up. And, you know, it sounded like you were in agreement in pre-broadcast conversation, but it really feels tough to beat that 15 car.
Yeah, it's going to be tough for anybody to run him down on the track or in the point standings. Just he's been so fast and been so consistent that even when he has not the best car, or maybe not the fastest car, he still finds a way to get up on the podium, and that makes it so hard to beat when you're doing that consistently. So hard for somebody else to try to make up a points deficit like he's already stretched out to 15 there. So yeah, I'm not sure if any of those drivers are going to have what it takes to run him down.
Taking a look over at D2, Bradley Alves has a 10-point lead over Logan Boone, Mitch Buenaventura, Esmail Elahi, and Ricardo Delgado. It all kind of bundles up from there. And looking over at practice, Logan Boone is 14th in class. So this could be a really big opportunity for Bradley Alves, Mitch Buenaventura, everybody else there in that top 5 to get points on at least Logan. But Bradley Alves is 3rd right now in practice. So Bradley's clearly got this place down, while Ricardo Delgado is leading practice for that class. That's rather significant, but you also have to consider the fact that Delgado is 25 points behind coming into this evening, and it's starting to feel like, yes, I would say the top 5 in this class have a really solid chance at winning this championship. That includes Ismail Elahi and Ricardo Delgado. But realistically, you start to look more towards the top 3 alone. And if Logan Boone is behind the marker, we're talking about a couple of teammates over at Shut Up and Drive at Bradley Alves and Mitch Buenaventura, as Buenaventura is 4th in practice. Those 2 drivers clearly are on top of each other. Mitch could bring up and, close in that gap, and who knows, Bradley could have a bad day here at Suzuka or vice versa. We just don't know. Ricardo looks good, but he's going to have to win out, I think, to win this championship. It's a tough ask, but I gotta feel like if anybody is up to that task in Division 2, it probably is Ricardo Delgado.
Yeah, it's just a battle of who can be consistent. Bradley Alves has been just consistently putting in good runs and finishing right near the podium. I think in almost all the races so far, he's even got a win. So he's been really consistent. Ricardo's shown a lot of speed, but just hasn't been able to consistently put runs together. And if he could start doing that the rest of the season, he could easily make up that deficit. But that's going to be tough for him to do. He just needs to focus up and get some runs together.
And I gotta say, what a close division as a whole. Division 2 has been a lot of fun to watch this season. Sometimes it could be a bit of a blowout. Sometimes it's just like this, real tight through the entire class. Much tighter, 100 points tighter than Division 1. And that is a big deal. These guys have been having a lot of fun. It's been a lot of fun to watch, and you can see we've spread the wins out a bit more than Division 1 has. Bradley Alves, Logan Boone, Ricardo Delgado, and Mark Reynolds all going to victory lane, and until last week at Long Beach, nobody had won a second race. So things definitely have been very, very spread out in this class in a good way. Wins have been spread out. Points have been close together. Been a lot of fun to watch Division 2 so far this season. I'll look at the schedule as I promised, and well, we're here for the final regular round, if you will. I used that on social media earlier today. The final regular round of the season. Round 5, a sprint race round. Next time out, we have a sprint race and then the endurance race at Phillip Island, and that is a whole different monster.
Yeah, that endurance race format that we'll see next week. Going to allow for double points and going to be kind of the championship decider. So we'll have to see what it comes down to here. Hopefully these drivers are going to be looking for hopefully some good runs and carry some momentum on here as we start off taking a look at qualifying with our Division 1 points leader, Kevin Cantonio. He's around, looks like he's starting his first lap, so we'll get a time on him, but really good on board here to see the track. Turns 1 and 2, that sweeping right-hander, and then here's the S's right through here. Left, right, these corners are going to tighten up as we go through here, and another left hand and another right hand right here. This one's tough. Look, it's deceptively tight on the exit, and he gets through there really nice and smooth. That's going to set him up pretty well for the rest of this lap as he heads down toward Degner.
Into the Degner curves for the first time under a clock, and Kevin Cantonio is nice and tidy to the racing line, right where you want to be. A little bit free on exit there of Degner 2. That's okay as he works up to the hairpin for the first time on the clock. And everybody be getting their flying laps now if they haven't already. No times have been clocked in just yet, but we should start to see them soon as we'll get the full qualifying session here on the broadcast today. Antonio through 200R and up to the spoon curve this time, riding on board in one of the coolest views you could possibly ask for inside the helmet here with Kevin Cantonio. Look at that mistake. Completely lost the car, and he's going to tow it back to pit lane. And boy, that was a quick little issue there for Cantonio. Glad he was able to hang on to it, but ends up deciding he's just going to reset the lap entirely, and he'll burn a lap here in qualifying. Let's go on board then with Jake Browder, one of the fastest BMWs in the field today, into 130R, and the final couple of corners, the Casio triangle up ahead for his first lap of qualifying.
Yeah, we saw him have to make a correction there through 130R. That is terrifying to do. You know that the car is right on edge, but he's going to look to get a good run down the first gear, get that drive off of the corner, down through to the start-finish line. He's going to go to the top of the charts, I believe.
In Division 2, yes. He actually beats out his teammate for that top spot. That's a really fast lap. Chris Sanchez, though, going even faster, a 2-minute flat, just about right at that 2-minute flat threshold in that burnt orange number 3. He's going to reset and go for another go. Here's Eduardo Pecorini back in the field for the first time since the Nürburgring. His teammate went to victory lane last time out. That was Thomas Rayleigh, and Rayleigh is here today. He's already on lap 2. Looks like he had a nullified lap 1, which is a problem for Rayleigh, but I'm sure he'll be able to adjust nonetheless. Let's go on board and in the helmet here with Rayleigh in the Audi R8. A nice perspective as he works up to the Degner curves.
Yeah, he's going to get through here right on the edge. It's so easy to get an off track there. And in the race, it's not that big of a deal if you take a couple of those, but you really don't want to have to do that qualifying. That'll invalidate your lap. So as we see him get into the hairpin, really tight. Got to slow the car way down to get through there and hook up the power on exit. He's going to run through 200R here. See, it's just flat out. Nice gradual turn, but then into spoon. We'll see what he can do here. That is double apex.
Pushing a little wide.
He stays on the track though. It's gonna.
You could feel the front tires burning in protest, just trying to get around the corner. That was interesting to watch.
Yeah, and I think that's why we're seeing some of these cars jump back to the pits if they have a lap time modality. They want to get fresh set of tires on there because they know they're going to be hot. As we see really go through their full commitment through 130R. He's going to lead down to turn 16 and 17 into the Casio triangle chicane. Get a good run out of there. We'll see what he comes across the line with. It's looking like it'll probably be a pretty good time.
A low 201. It's a 201.001 initially, now a 2 flat 995. That's not so bad. Top 10 time there for driver 24. Diego Eda comes in just behind him. Let's see. The other drivers in the top 10 include Scott Kimber, Martin Crisp, Jeremy Gonsalves, Eric Leroy, Scott Reister, Adam Brockway, Miguel Colon, Eduardo Pecorini, and current provisional pole sitter Chris Sanchez. Sanchez, down to turn 1, has just begun his final lap of qualifying. Best lap of 2-minute 3:05. That's what he's trying to beat, as Pecorini and others do the exact same. Here's Pecorini through the S's on his final lap of qualifying.
Yeah, his tires probably are screaming at him already through those S's, but on board with Miguel Colon. So him have a pretty good run last week at Long Beach.
P3.
Yeah, he hasn't been able to get up on the podium much this season. Just got some life stuff that's kept him out of practice a little bit, but definitely.
Well, yeah, he had a kid.
Nicely. Yeah, so looking to keep up that momentum as we see him attacking this chicane for his coming to complete lap 2. So he's going to have
Antonio to the top of the board, a 2-minute 1:73, and that is going to best Chris Sanchez, whose lap ends early. Cantonio now has an extra lap here qualifying. You saw the mistake earlier in Spoon Curve, goes out there for lap 2 and sets down a monster lap, nearly breaking into the 1-minute 59 sector. Boy, would that be something if somebody can do that here in qualifying for the North American Racing League at Suzuka. Cantonio going to give it a shot. Pecorini will as well. Beccarini here, final couple of corners. Let's see what he can do.
Yeah, we'll see if he can improve on his third place starting spot right now. So he comes out of the last corner under the start-finish line gantry.
Close.
Minute 3:44.
And it won't count.
And it doesn't count. Oh, must have taken an off track somewhere. Oh, that's so disappointing, especially when you know you have such a good lap time in. Just the pressure that these guys have. It's tough to keep the car on track and get all the speed you can, because you want to use as much track as you can, knowing that that's what makes lap time, and just overstepping it just a little bit, and that's the result.
I want to say a big nod to Mark Reynolds, who grabbed a a sprint race win at the endurance round back at the Nürburgring not so long ago, as Miguel Colon has a mistake that's going to invalidate that lap, I believe. But a big nod to Mark Reynolds, who's currently on pole in Division 2, very quietly put it on pole so far this evening by a couple of tenths over Jake Browder and Ricardo Delgado. To beat Ricardo Delgado in anything is a big deal for anybody in Division 2, so Reynolds and Browder certainly bringing their A game this evening, and Reynolds would like to try and go back to victory lane as Martin Crisp works into the final couple of corners here. Martin, one of the top Division 1 drivers, still on the racetrack, and he's bringing it to pit lane, so that's all that's going to happen for car 5-9. He was so close to making it, but unfortunately will not make it back to the line in qualifying, and that will do it as time expires. Want to give a big nod to all of our partners with the series, of course, Whiplash SimCam. Well, this is with us, Whiplash SimCam's ATVO and CC's Business, and with the series, of course, Moradness, JS Consulting, and Screw Compressor Service Incorporated. Moradness has done so much for this series. It feels like every time we talk about Moradness with the North American Racing League and getting ready for a new season, the series is continuously getting revolutionized. It just continues to get better and better and better, and a big thank you goes out to Moradness and Daniel Morad and everybody behind that crew. Daniel, watching this evening, M Squad is in the house, and we've got a couple of drivers from the M Squad that are looking great tonight. One of those, of course, being Adam Brockway, who went to victory lane at the Nürburgring not so long ago. But let's go down and run through our starting order this evening as we're set to go for 50 minutes of racing from Suzuka Circuit. On pole, Kevin Cantonio leading the CC's Business starting grid. Chris Sanchez rolls off from the second spot. Starting third, it's Eduardo Peccarini. Miguel Colon will roll off fourth. He went top 3 last time out at Long Beach. And in row 3, it'll be Adam Brockway alongside Scott Reister. This 42 and 142 car, they cannot get separated, it seems like, this season. When they're on the racetrack, they're often near each other, unless you're talking about the Nürburgring, where Brockway went out and put it on the table and went to victory lane. In row 4, you've got Eric Leroy and Jeremy Gonsalves. Row number 5 is going to bring us none other than Martin Crisp and Scott Kimbrough, and that will complete your top 10.
Picking up with P11, Thomas Rayleigh going to look to get another win from that 11th starting spot. Kevin Carlisle starting to his outside in car 72. Row 7 is where we'll pick up our first Division 2 driver, Mark Reynolds, putting it on the pole in that class in the car 999. And Diego Eric starting in 14th spot. A couple of Division 2 drivers here, Jake Browder and Ricardo Delgado, starting 15th and 16th. They're going to look to run down Mark Reynolds just a couple spots ahead. 17th is Lucas Souza, and 18th will be Dominic Turcotte in car 29. Rounding out the top 20 will be Andy Ray Miller in car 33, and Kevin Peak, another Division 2 driver, in car 133 to his outside.
We'll let the rest roll by. Some highlights including Dean Kerr and Josh Lyon on this 11th row of the field, and we will get ready to go racing this evening from the Suzuka Circuit. Oh, watch out for Buenaventura on that row. He's going to be a lot of fun to watch, I think, tonight, along with teammate Bradley Alves. Those two should be exciting, to say the least. I want to take a look at Whiplash SimCam's race details. 60-minute practice session, 10-minute qualifying session. Those are done and out of the way. It's a 50-minute sprint race up ahead of these drivers with fixed setups and 50% fuel loads, a 15 incident limit, and every 5 incidents thereafter will be another penalty for these drivers. They've got to keep it clean, at a place that can be oh so punishing with off tracks and 1Xs. They've got to be careful. Into the Casio Triangle for the final time before going racing this evening. It's Kevin Cantonio, it's Chris Sanchez, Eduardo Pecorini, Miguel Colon, the front of the field, working down the front stretch out of turn number 18, past the Ferris wheel, and to the green flag today. Green flag is in the air. We are racing in Japan.
Yeah, great jump from Kevin Cantonio there. He's going to get away free and clear. Already built a few car length gap over Chris Sanchez. As we see Eduardo Pecorini dive in there.
Contact between the two. More contact, and there goes Pecorini for a slide, and it's a big crash, and Gonsalves didn't hold the brake at all. We've got cars smashing it up from the wide view here above the grandstands. Look at the carnage down outside of turn number 2. We'll let this lap go by before we revisit what just happened on lap 1 to completely change this championship potentially.
Yeah, cars scattered everywhere right at the start of the S's, but up ahead, Miguel Colon, he got through there unscathed. He's in second place. Kevin Cantonio is so far ahead. It's like the Olympics. Swimmers so far ahead, you can't even see him on the screen. Another car off. Looks like that might be...
That was Chris Winstone on the 5.
Okay.
And Ian Kidd now turned around. Problems for the 121 car. He has been stopped into the Degner curves. Everybody else, though, continues on. Kevin Cantonio leading the way up now to the Spoon Curve. And boy, what a treacherous lap 1 this has turned out to be. Not the place I would have expected it. And admins are going to look back on that very, what's the word?
Unfavorably.
Unfavorably, yeah. That's one way to put it. Alexandre Cunha now with problems. He's going to tow to the pit lane, it looks like. Oh, boy.
I believe he was black flagged according to race control, so maybe an interesting party to look at when we go back and revisit that. But Kevin Cantonio likes what he sees. There's cars pretty small in his rear view camera, so he's going to come around and lead lap 1. An exciting lap 1 so far. But Kevin's starting to pull away, already a 2.7 second gap over Miguel Colon in second.
And when you get separated like that, you're often off to the races and likely going to win the race. A nice battle between Buenaventura, Logan Boone, and Mark Reynolds here down the front stretch. Reynolds with a lot of damage, had that pole position starting spot for Division 2 and has already lost it and then some. Logan Boone gets passed up. That is by one Mitch Buenaventura. And that is for a big position. That is for the 6th spot in class, as scoring updates on my screen. It's going slow because of all of the incidents that we just had on lap 1 and now lap 2. But let's go back and see what happened to these guys on that first lap of action. It's going to be a moment before we get the replay queued up, but bear with us here. Boy, that was something else.
Yeah, once we get that pulled up, we'll get to see it. But yeah, it looked like it was just massive carnage.
Here's Pecorini out of the first corner, went for a slide, and just... We'll have to get another view of it, but was just racing hard there on the first lap alongside... Oh, look at the cars crashing behind. Alongside Chris Sanchez, and I don't know that either driver was really at fault, but we'll get a look here.
Yeah, I think it was just one of those racing deals, but the problem was it happened in front of the whole field, and cars right behind him didn't really have time to check up.
A little bit of contact was made, and Pecorini then got on the grass, and Sanchez came further down, which was a big mistake. Sanchez got absolutely driven through in the rear. Everybody trying to get by, well, they couldn't. Kimbrough got damage as he Gonsalves spinning. I believe that's Martin Crisp going for a slide through the grass. Mark Reynolds tried to get through it, and a lot of guys just didn't really want to check up, and they end up becoming a part of this when they didn't need to be. We'll get another view here. Slow-mo again.
Yeah, if we look just a little bit after what happens here, we can see there's another kind of bunch of cars that stacks up later. See, I think that's Brockway going spinning the Moradness car. You see Scott Kimbrough, he's slow, and I think he gets hit again later on in this.
Yeah, and that's what sends Reynolds up into the air.
Yeah, so we see there's 3 or 4 more cars involved, and he comes to rest right up against the walls. We got cars still trying to sneak their way through there in the background. That's just all the chaos of an opening lap captured in 2 corners. Ends a lot of good cars nights very early.
Let's ride on board with D2 pole sitter Mark Reynolds here on the first lap. We'll get another replay or two and then go back to live picture. But this is Mark Reynolds' view of the whole thing as he now runs 8th in class. This has been detrimental to the nth degree, it feels like, for car 999. They all just start spinning. He tries to check up and get through it, then gets back on power, and, you know, that was worsened. Wow, you know, I want to criticize these guys for trying to get through it, but they could have, if not for Gonsalves not holding the brake and coming back across the field.
Yeah, you gotta have some awareness there of where your car's at. And sometimes it's you gotta get off the track, but if you're already off one side of the track, you don't need to back up across the other. So
here's a view from the blimp. This will really show it good. Gonsalves here is going to let the car roll back across the racetrack, nearly wipes out Thomas Rayleigh. Instead, is going to get Carlisle and Reynolds. That gets Kimbrough. That gets another car that I can't quite tell who it is, and Jake Browder. Browder goes spinning off into the barrier, and that was about the rest of the crash as a couple of cars tried to merge back onto the speedway. Really, the worst part of that, and we've sung Solpeck's praises all season long, but the worst part of that is Jeremy Gonsalves failing to hold the brake coming back across the racetrack when it was already happening.
Yeah, and it happens so fast that you kind of need your reactions to take over, and it just, I guess, he gets kind of turned there, and he's still got wheel into it, and that's what kind of sends him back across the track. But yeah, I don't know. On the second look there, it looks like he may not have been able to completely avoid getting back on the track, and it just kind of picked wrong, and unfortunately wiped out some more cars. So we'll see if anything else happens stewarding wise. But Kevin Cantonio, his teammate, pulling away even more, 4.5-second lead over Miguel Colon already, and we're not even 7 laps into the race now.
Yeah, it's lap 4. We're not even 4 laps in, or 5 laps in. Not even 20% of the way through this race, as we're expected to get about 25 laps of racing. But it is going to be a fun fight for second, I think, as Miguel Colon has a ton of front-end damage, and that's going to hold the one car back even further. This is exactly what Cantonio needed to wrap up the championship. That takes out second place in the standings, Jeremy Gonsalves. Next up would be Scott Reister, who runs third. So, sure, it's a good start to the night for Reister, but with some really sore circumstances, I would say, and not the way he wanted it to happen. Certainly doesn't want to have Cantonio in front of him right now at this stage of the game. And down in Division 2, Ricardo Delgado got through all the mess. He is running 8th overall, rather. And next up behind him is going to be Kevin Peak, down in 11th overall. And we're talking about a separation of some 4 seconds on the racetrack. So the 4-second lead that Cantonio has, mirror that for Delgado's race. He's got 4 seconds on Kevin Peak as he tries to pass Peak's teammate, Jake Browder.
And that's what he needs for this championship fight. You saw him in the standings 25 points down. But these Division 2 guys, they have a little bit more potential to get more points, because you're going to have some Division 1 drivers kind of mixed in there right at the end of the Division 1 field, top of the Division 2 field. So I think if Ricardo can keep this up and bring home a solid run, he's going to be looking at a good points day.
Yeah, well, you consider the fact that he's racing, realistically, Bradley Alvis and Mitch Buenaventura for the championship, and Logan Boone. They're all down 5th, 6th, 7th right now in class, whereas Delgado is leading. Delgado is also 8th overall. So for the point scoring, he's 8th. Bradley Alvis, Mitch Buenaventura, they are 14th and 15th. Logan Boone is 16th. That is a huge, huge problem for those guys. They are about twice as far down the running order as the driver they're trying to not let steal this championship. So something big has to change here, and I'm afraid it may not.
Yeah, they're going to have to. You don't really want to wish bad luck on anybody, but they're going to be needing some bad luck to befall some of their other competitors if they want to start making a dent in Ricardo's lead. Just from a strictly a numbers point of view, he's going to pick up a lot more points than these guys. So yeah, they're gonna need to figure something out if they want a chance to defend him off in the title standings.
Scott Reister is all up on Miguel Colon as we hit about 10 minutes into this race. This could be a lot of fun here as, boy, I'm still just blown away by lap 1. 10 minutes in now, and this race has taken a whole new complexion to what we thought it may. Of course, we expected Cantonio to have the advantage, but by 5 seconds after 10 minutes of racing, that's 2 seconds, or no, that's a half a second a minute. That's incredible.
Yeah, and Miguel's doing a great job. He's got a lot of damage on that Audi, and he is still showing some decent speed. Unfortunately, it's going to be hard to run down Cantonio with that, so he's doing a great job of what he can do at this point with that damage, fending off Scott Reister here. But Scott in that Mercedes is not going to give it up too easily, so he's going to be hounding him probably the rest of this race, if I had to guess.
What does that work out to be? If Cantonio is a half second faster every minute, does that mean it's 59.5 seconds for him for every 60 seconds for the rest of these guys, or is it every 60 seconds for him is 60.5 seconds for the rest of these guys? I mean, it's something like that, and that is just insane to think about. A half second per minute, and he might even do the same thing here in this next minute of racing, or next 2 minutes or so. I mean, a big part of that, of course, was the start, so maybe it's not the most accurate statistic, but regardless, it's a pretty insane one to think about when you do try to wrap your head around it. Now, we talked about...
His last lap was a 2-minute flat 0.7, and Miguel's was a 2-minute 1.2, so that was a half second just on that lap alone, and that was Miguel's best lap of the race, and Kevin's was 4/10 slower than his best lap, so definitely some more in the tank for Kevin there. If he wants to maybe back off, save some fuel, play some strategy to make sure he stays ahead of these guys. But
there you go. Also want to highlight the top M Squad drivers so far today. We talked about them a little bit on the grid. Brockway leading the charge now, and he's actually going to pit here. Whoa, this is early.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to be able to make it on the fuel from here. So
it's going to be close, actually. He may be able to do this, and on a track where it's downforce dependent, yes, you can draft a lot on the straightaways, but you also lose a lot being in behind another car. If this is a proper fuel stop for Brockway to get down and get away, oh, this could flip the script in an interesting way. I don't know. It's really early, but you talk about how late these guys run in a race. It's usually about a minute, 15 minutes to go, or even longer than that. So this actually could be a big strategy move for Brockway as he gets down and away quickly.
Yeah, it's a high risk, high reward if he gets some clean track here. But right now you can see he's settled in between a couple of Division 2 drivers, I believe, and so he's going to have to make quick work of them if he can to get some free track and start running down and making up the time he's already spent in the pits. As we go back up to the battle for P2, Scott has not let Miguel Colon out of his sight at all. He is still right there hounding him like he has from the start.
My other idea for Brockway would have been a penalty, but he was in the box for far too short of a time, I think, for that to be a penalty. And certainly there's no way the stewards would have deemed him at fault for the lap 1 incident. He wasn't even a part of the start of that, so I really am curious. And speaking of that lap 1 turn 2 incident, Chris Sanchez is back on the racetrack here, as you can see him out of Australia, and I believe Jeremy Gonsalves is going to call it a day. He is down 14th in class, 34th overall. He's going to He's going to join Alexandre Cunha, Andy Ray Miller, Scott Kimbrough, Eduardo Pecorini and Kevin Carlisle all behind the wall, leaving 31 cars on the racetrack, the last of which is Jake Browder. He is going to continue on today, although he is 20th in class as we speak, dead last right now. And this pass would be for position from Sanchez, albeit for 26th if he can get by Randall Smith.
Yeah, and we saw Chris.
Oh, and Smith's going to crash.
That's what I was talking about, that 130R. It's, your cars are so on edge there. And we've seen the Porsche catch a couple guys out this season, and I think it caught another one there. Just rear engine, really easy to get started to go in the wrong direction, and when it starts going, it keeps going. So, yeah, I think that was an unfortunate characteristic of that car. Bit him there. So
I hope this isn't accurate, that this is a tow for Dean Kerr, but he is in the pit lane, and the pit time is telling me that he towed. I hope that's not the case, but it looks like it will be. Here's a replay. He's spinning in turn one. Alvis goes by, and Buenaventura slams into the 84 car. That is another D2 points contender out of this thing, and Kerr pulls it off to the side of the track and tows.
yeah, that was unfortunate for Mitch right there. Just car got loose in front of him, and really nowhere to go. We'll go there and look at it here. Gets in there and
just got free.
Overcooked a little bit there and kept it on the track. Oh, that hole started to close, and unfortunately Mitch just couldn't get through it in time before the door slammed completely. So he's going to have some damage the rest of the...
Something tells me Mitch just zigged when he should have zagged.
Yeah, and it's so hard to tell. You expect that car to kind of drift up there, and yeah, then it starts coming back to the inside of the track, and once you've already made your decision, you're stuck with it, and that's what we saw right there.
It's a really difficult thing to do, but I'm going to slow this down and let's process it a little bit. So he starts to spin right about here. The car steps out. And traditionally, you're going to aim for where the car isn't, but sometimes if right here you aim for where the car is, by the time you get there, the car will no longer be there. And you see the process kind of go through Mitch's head. He's going for where the car wasn't at that time when he chose. If he had gone where the car was no longer there, and that would have been right on by the incident for Mitch Buenaventura. It's so difficult because I've been in those scenarios. I'm sure you have as well, Daniel. It's so difficult to actually process it that way, but I've noticed oftentimes if you were able to, you get by the crash.
Yeah, and you see Mitch come in. If he's in his pit window, that's not a bad time to come in, get that fast repair, get back out there. You can make it to the end here on fuel, so I think that's what he did, and he's going to try to recover from that and limit the damage. But yeah, and we have the benefit of slow motion there, just on the replay. But it's so tough right in the split second to make a decision like that, to pick which way the car's going. He's sliding. You expect him to maybe continue sliding, and that's what happens. The other guy holds his brakes, and it kind of starts to... It stops his momentum going the outside, and it rolls back to the inside. So yeah, it's so tough. Just it's all about reactions, and sometimes it's a 50-50 call, and we saw in that case we just flipped a coin and came up tails when he needed it to be heads.
As these guys settle into a run, want to talk about what's upcoming for us here at Pit Stop TV. Next up, we head out to Auto Club Speedway for the Icon Cup Series, and I promise this will be quick as we look for our next battle to focus on. But we head out to Auto Club Speedway with the Icon Cup Series this Sunday. Then Monday, it's out to the Milwaukee Mile with the Misfit Touring Series. And look at that, Saturday, that endurance race we keep talking about. Next Saturday, August the 10th, that's going to be a big day for these guys. It'll be a championship crowning event, just like Road America was last season, but boy, is it going to be thrilling, I feel like. With this format that these guys have worked out, I really am expecting one of the best races we've ever seen with the North American Racing League. An endurance race at Phillip Island, exactly what I've been wanting for a long time. We've got it for the final round of this championship. Meanwhile, you see a pass has been made for second place by Scott Reister. That is good for second in class and, of course, overall for Division 1, and moves Miguel Colon back to third. And I have a feeling Thomas Rayleigh may soon be on the way to do the same and go by car number 1 for a spot.
Yeah, Miguel's just trying to nurse that car until he can get into the pits and get that pass repair, because he's doing a valiant effort with the car damaged as it is. But yeah, Scott finally was able to get by him, and the hits keep coming. Rayleigh is within striking distance still, so he's going to try to run down and pass Miguel, and Miguel's going to have to fend them off for at least until the pit stop. These guys know that strategy is so important that you got to be able to make it to your pit stop number and use that to maximize your finish against this tough competition.
Somebody else having a really solid day is Lucas Souza from Aerokinetics. It's been a dismal season for Aerokinetics entries. I believe Souza's one of the 2 that were entered this season, maybe the only driver that was entered from that team. But they have had a very dismal season. Aerokinetics has been a long-time member in the league, and Lucas Souza has been here for a while and finally is turning things around today here at Spa. Granted, I think part of that is due to what happened lap 1, but clearly you've got to position yourself nicely, and he's done that to get by that kind of incident. He runs in the 8th position right now, 7th in class, chasing Ricardo Delgado on the racetrack, and I have to give a nod to this guy. You know, when we come down to driver of the day here in a little bit, it might be worth considering Lucas Souza, just considering the circumstances around the season he's had. I'm not saying he's going to be my nominee, but maybe he's Daniel's, possibly, who knows. But also, you know what we haven't done yet is talk about weather conditions. I believe we're in the morning. It could be evening. Considering
it is evening. It is 5 o'clock local time in Sim.
There you go. I was going to say the sun has gotten a little bit lower, I feel like, but 79 degrees in the air, 87 on track. A pretty calm day here at Suzuka.
Yeah, track temp's going down. I think in practice it was up in the high 90s, so track temp's already started to go down with the sun kind of headed towards sunset, and these drivers are going to be able to go a lot faster as the track cools off, speeds pick up, and drivers are going to want to use that as best they can and try to maximize their running.
This is a battle worth talking about just because Mitch Buenaventura is trying to battle back for points, and I know it's not looking good for him now, but he is trying to get back up to 14th, which really, you know, when you talk about points and how these guys earn points in an overall setting, really you got to look at the number there on the quarter window, and it's 26 right now, meaning he's 26th position looking for 25th. So he's trying, he's doing what he can, but this might be enough to write him out of the championship this season for Division 2.
Well, he's the only one that's pitted so far, and if he can make it to the end,
that's true.
There's going to be a lot of cars. Well, him and Brockway. Brockway is also pitted. He's 18th overall. But Division 2-wise, Mitch is the only one to pit. So if he can not waste too much time getting around Patterson here, he can start working his way forward and maybe covering off some of the drivers that are going to pit a little bit later. And we'll see how that shakes out, if he can recover from that incident we saw. We just see Lucas Souza now coming in the pits. You were just talking about him running up P7 in Division 1. He's going to make his pit stop. Mark Reynolds, our Division 2 pole sitter, he's up. He's going to take some tires. We've seen that strategy kind of play out. Drivers can take 2 tires here and not lose any time within their fuel window, or the amount of time it takes to get fuel. So you see a few more cars pass by. So Reynolds is going to come out 15th overall about. Comes down pit lane. Yeah, he is right behind Mitch Buenaventura, so Mitch was able to get back by him, back by Reynolds for another position. So I wouldn't count Mitch out of it completely. He still has time to recover from his early incident and might be able to salvage a good points gap.
Flashing back up to our leaders in Division 1, of course, Kevin Cantonio's gone by 8 seconds, but we got to focus here again on second and third, and you know, with these drivers through the field taking earlier pit stops this evening, could we see Miguel Colon pit early, take a little bit less fuel and gamble, but try to get that damage fixed here soon? I don't know. It seems like he's in the kind of rut of you have to go as far as possible here on fuel. If he got that damage fixed, I gotta believe he'd be faster. Do you agree? Do you disagree? I mean,
yeah, I would have expected him to come in as soon as he could just to get that damage fixed. You know, it's hurting him on the straightaways, but now he's stuck behind Scott, so maybe he's getting a little more draft. And I think the two strategies are pit as early as you can and try to make it to the end, and just hope that you have some clean track. And the other strategy is stay out as late as you can and run the car as light as possible for as long as possible. Take as little fuel at the end, and hopefully you can make it that way. So I guess he was really looking forward to that second strategy. But yeah, I think you got to call him audible if you got the damage like he has, and the potential speed that is in that car. You see Dominic Turcotte come out of the pits. He's going to join in. I think that was right behind Chris Sanchez.
It was, and Sanchez is still lead lap here. So that'll be about a minute behind the race leaders. Sanchez works from the 21st position or so overall right now.
Yeah, and he has not pit yet, so he's...
Aside from the fast repair.
Oh, okay. I don't see a pit on my screen, so... yeah. That's he's gonna probably have to pit again regardless. So.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to say. He's pit for the fast repair, but that's it. So he's got the fast repair, but he's still gonna have to come in and get fuel.
Yeah, that first, and that's the problem with the first lap incident. You know, you got to pit, but you can't make it to the end on fuel from there. So that's an unfortunate side effect of getting caught up in that first lap incident.
Well, you might notice graphics have frozen up on us just a little bit, so we're going to play with this as we can. We're watching Chris Sanchez, and we'll page up here through the drivers to get back up to our leaders. As you see, there's Eric Leroy, there's Jake Browder, there is Ricardo Delgado, I believe, Martin Crisp, Diego Etta there on the 77 car, Thomas Rayleigh, and it looks like graphics are coming back to me, thankfully. Sometimes if you let the program do what it needs to do, it'll sort out. Sometimes it won't. And hey, we got graphics working. So bear with me as ATVO is having a fit with this racetrack apparently today. But we can go on board with Miguel Colon at least and ride here as he chases Scott Reister. And again, it goes back to pit stops. It always does in this series. The way it's set up, the way these races are formatted, it's always going to come down to fuel load. And continuously, it's like, when are these guys going to pit? When are these guys going to actually pull the trigger? Usually, it's always at the end of the race. We've seen a couple of oddballs thrown out there. Adam Brockway is one to watch. In fact, Brockway runs down in the 15th position, it looks like. Was last reported on my timing and scoring at least.
13th overall right now.
There you go.
As he looks to make a move on Jeff Fleischman. He's going to pick up that 12th place overall now. So he's looking to carve his way back through the field after that early pit stop. I don't know exactly what the pit delta is. He's 46 seconds behind the leader, so I don't think it's going to be quite enough to get back up there, but there's a lot of cars 15, 16 seconds up the road of him that he should get after the pit stop cycle out. So he's looking to have a decent bounce back after some tough luck on the first lap.
Brockway doing what he can to pick up the pieces as he's ahead of Fleischmann. And you see T. Charles Anderson actually right there as well. In the 164, trying to get by Fleischmann. This is in an interesting spot in the field, and Fleischmann's going to duck off and pit. That leaves Anderson on the racetrack, along with Brockway. Further up the field. Oh, Bradley Alvis in the pit lane, actually. I just saw that. I have to do this manually.
Quite a few cars have been in the pits. Thomas Rayleigh, Martin Crisp, Bradley Alvis, they've all come in and come back out. Rayleigh, 15.4 seconds stop to Adam Brockway's 12.1. They're running 9th and 10th overall, so that's where that battle's shaken out. You see Bradley Alvis comes out. He is 17th overall. He is about 7th or 8th, it looks like, in division, but knowing there's still a few cars left to pit and cycle out, looks like we might have some trouble with our graphics package again.
Yeah, you know, the professional in me wants to not talk about it because, well, if we don't talk about it, you won't really think about it, but the sim racer in me knows that everybody pretty much knows what's already happening anyways. So we are having some graphics difficulties with ATVO. It's a fantastic program, it really is, I promise. It has some moments like this, and truthfully, I think my system needs an upgrade. It's a matter of affording that upgrade. So that's just part of sim racing in general, and I know everybody gets that, especially with needing to upgrade sometimes as iRacing continues to advance and advance and advance, and really it is that, is iRacing keeps getting better and better, and it puts more of a load on these systems to where you have to keep up with it, or otherwise you just get a bottleneck every once in a while, and it looks like we're just getting a bottleneck tonight here at Suzuka, but that's okay. We'll have graphics back up and running here shortly, I promise. In the meantime, we await other drivers on pit lane. And if we page through these guys up front, Logan Boone is in. There's Kevin Peak. I see Ricardo Delgado. I see Jake Browder. I see Gonsalves has been there. So then we'll move up a little further. There's Diego Etta in the 77. Brockway is going to go by. So Brockway is going to slot in here ahead of Diego. That's going to be about 6th on the racetrack or so, as Miguel Colon is there. And here we go. Things are reloading for us. So we'll get graphics back on the screen in just a moment.
Yeah, it looks like just about everybody's pit now. A couple stragglers. Eric Leroy running P3, but he has not yet entered the pit lane as far as I can tell. Chris Sanchez just ducked in there, so he's going to have to give up. He was running about 16th overall. We'll see where he shakes out. Ismail Alahi, he also comes in. So, yeah, drivers making their pit stops now. I think there's only, according to my timing and scoring, just one driver left to pit. So things are pretty much shaken out now as we got graphics back, we got pit stops done. This race is really starting to look up for us now.
Yeah, the only thing is I just lost about half the pit data I had before, so we're really flying blind a little bit, but Kevin Cantonio still on the racetrack by 9.3 seconds. Scott Reister second, Eric Leroy now third, as Miguel Colon has lost that third spot. And indulge me here, I don't think Leroy has pitted, has he?
No, I don't see anything that says he has, so I think he's trying to take it as long as he can. Maybe try to run the fuel out a little bit, save some more. And
so Rayleigh has fallen back, and Leroy is really rising here. This could be a big day for the 44 car, and he's going to pit.
He ducks in right now, so we'll see where he shakes out. He was running up 4 spots from where he started, so we'll see if he can hold on to that. I think he was he involved in that first lap incident?
I don't think so. I think really, yeah, I think anybody in the top 10 probably wasn't, aside from Miguel Colon, who had a bit of a slam up there with his nose. But Leroy comes in and pits. That leaves the rest of the field up front on the racetrack. Brockway in the top 5 now, and he is really close actually to Thomas Rayleigh. He's only, this is huge, he's only 16 seconds behind the race leader.
Yeah, and more importantly, only 3 seconds behind Thomas Rayleigh. So definitely a good rebound from some early troubles for him. We talked about it. That early pit stop wasn't necessarily going to be a detriment. He got some clean track, and he was able to make his way through the field. Looks like it netted out a pretty positive result for him. As we see Scott Reister, he stays position 2. Miguel Colon, P3, guessing he got his damage fixed. I don't know if we've got a shot of the front of his car yet to see if that's the case. Looks like it is clean. So yeah, he got his fast repair in that pit stop, and he should be good and able to take the fight to Scott Reister if it comes down to it. He's P3 and driving away from Thomas Rayleigh a little bit.
So see, that's where the pit data has been wiped for me, as Cantonio's pitted, right?
Yes.
Yeah, see, Leroy, and so I thought Leroy was up here on pace. I hadn't realized because it wiped pit data for these guys. That's okay. We're learning. Everybody's just about caught up is yep, where I'm at.
Yeah, everybody's cycled out now, and
so Brockway's still going to have a top 5 out of this, which is huge with that strategy. You don't see that very often. Somebody take that early stop and still end up top 5 at the end of the day, just because of how these races usually shake out with draft and fuel savings and such. That is a rarity. So M Squad really well represented by Brockway today, and that seems to be status quo over there. Is the 142 seems to be their leader, if you will.
Yeah, that just goes to show the pace he's got in that car and the talent that he has as a driver. So he's going to start. I don't think he's done yet. He's going to start trying to run down Thomas Rayleigh for fourth, and maybe even inch his way closer to a podium by the end of this thing. I don't think it's completely out of it.
And when you talk about Division 2 points, on a whole different side of things, Ricardo Delgado runs in the 8th spot overall right now, first in class. He would have the win if things shake out just like they are, and considering he's got 11 seconds back to Josh Lyon, I think he will take today's win. We talk about him needing to win out for the championship, and I think he's on the start of potentially doing so, as Josh Lyon runs down in the 11th spot overall. Kevin Peak runs in the 12th spot overall. These two are not in the points fight. Next up in the points fight is Logan Boone down here in 4th in class, 13th overall. He was able to pass Bradley Alvis through the pit lane. Alvis now in 5th in class, 14th position overall, some 6 spots behind Ricardo Delgado. That is a big, big deal. I know that's probably going to put Delgado somewhere around 18 back, if I had to guess. That's picking up nearly, maybe 17 back. That's picking up about a third of what he needs in one go, which is exactly what he needs to be doing. Ricardo is going to be in a good spot after this race if everything shakes out the way it is, and it looks like nothing's going to change. And, you know, with that, we're getting down to 12 minutes to go. We mustn't forget driver of the day, Daniel, and I'm going to turn things over to you as I get my bearings about me once again on who your nominees are today.
Yeah, well, I think I'm going to take the low-hanging fruit, and we have not talked about him as much as we probably should have, but he has just been dominant all day. You see him there on the screen right there. Kevin Cantonio, 11-second lead, just set sail from the beginning, has not looked back, and he just slides a little bit there, but no worse for the wear. So, yeah, I think I'm going to go with him as one of my nominees. He's just been so solid and just really impressive what he's been able to do.
I think that's a pretty obvious choice for sure. I don't know how you can look past him right now, and considering he's got this 11-second lead, I really don't know if anybody else is quite as deserving, and I hate to put it that way, but I think simply put, Kevin Cantonio is going to deserve this driver of the day that I'm assuming he's going to get, but the vote could surprise us, especially considering I'm going to nominate Diego Era. He has had a really bad season, I'm going to be honest, but this is a much better run for him today here at Suzuka. 6th place, knocking on the door of a top 5. When you talk about driver of the day, it doesn't always mean the guy who's leading. In the case of Cantonio, it does, but in the case of Diego, it doesn't. He has put together a really solid day for Maxwell Sim Racing. This is what we expect from Diego, but he hasn't had it this season. So this is really nice to see him having a good run again, getting back on top where he should be, and getting this season back under control for himself. So I've got to nominate Diego Eda. He's been a part of this series, I believe, since day one or close to it. I just have to nominate this guy. I don't know how many times he's been nominated in the past. It hasn't been many. So I think he's really deserving with the day he's putting together. I know there's other drivers ahead of him that are deserving, yes, but I just don't know that I've ever nominated him for driver of the day before. He's impressing me today, so he gets my vote.
That's a good pick. Yeah, he's definitely put in a solid run so far. And I'm going to take your advice and go a little bit off the beaten path and not go for the current Division 2 race leader. I'm going to go with Josh Lyon. He's up 12 spots from where he started overall, but he is up to 10th second in Division 2, 10th overall, and just put in a solid run that Move Over Racing Ferrari. So I think I'm going to nominate him for Division 2 driver of the day, and throw it back to you for your last selection.
It's going to be another driver that I feel like just doesn't really get looked at all that often. It's going to be Kevin Peek, and I know he's got Logan Boone breathing down his neck as Dominic Turcotte's got a lot of damage right ahead of him here. Dominic has got tons and tons of damage on that Porsche. He's holding these guys up big time, but Kevin Peek trying to get by him here, I feel like has put together a solid day. He's next up behind Josh Lyon, and this is not at all a slight to Ricardo Delgado, but he's won a lot. He's going to win this race. We're looking at somebody else who's impressing. Kevin Peek, I think, is on that list. So Ricardo deserves it, I'm going to be honest, but we're looking at some others that maybe also deserve it and usually don't get the look. I'm sure Ricardo's going to be nominated next week because I'm sure he's going to be up there next week. Kevin Peek, I'm not so sure will be up there next week. This is an impressive run for him.
Yeah, definitely a solid run for him, and looks like he might be able to he might be in line to pick up another spot here as Turcotte's got some major damage on the front of that Porsche.
And this would be a really important pass for Logan Boone and Bradley Alvis to make.
Yeah, to limit the damage on that Ricardo's doing to their points lead. So yeah, they're going to look to try to get by this car as fast as they can.
Alvis actually just let Eric Leroy by.
Yeah, I think he knows. Leroy's got some speed. He just had he was back there late pit stop, and that's kind of cycled him back behind these Division 2 drivers. So we might see him kind of slice his way through this pack as well. Eric Peek disappeared a little bit there, but or Kevin Peek, excuse me. He's back now. So
he was taking a peek at the Netherrealm.
Apparently, I think this battle's going to heat up as we wind down under 8 minutes left in this race now. So coming to the end, these drivers are going to, I think the intensity might start ramping up here soon. Just drivers trying to make last-ditch efforts to maximize their positions.
We see them all go by Dunlop Curve and towards the Degner 1, and oh, hello! Peek I thought was going to take a peek there, and I'm using that pun another time or two, I think, but I really thought he was going to sneak out there and look for a spot into Degner 2. Degner 1, I think it was. Regardless, one of these times they've got to find a way by, as Eric Leroy is now getting bunched up behind the 88 car. And look at the clouds that have built over the circuit. We've really built ourselves some cloud cover lately.
Yeah, that's going to cool the track down and add to the grip until, you know, that R word comes into play maybe. But yeah, I think we talked about it earlier, the track temps is going down. Oh, close.
Peek is getting desperate.
He keeps looking for every opportunity, and Turcotte keeps opening the door just a little bit and slamming it shut right back in his face. So we'll see if Kevin can make a move here. We've seen last lap Dominic was a little defensive into here. We'll see if he does it again. As he goes wide, is that going to open the door? They're going to go side by side now through the chicane, and Kevin's got to back out of it. Just not enough momentum to hang it around the outside. He's going to slot back in behind him and fight for another spot to get by.
those opportunities don't just happen. That was one that I think he had to take advantage of, and he did try. He was there. He gave it his best. He just couldn't quite get there for the second apex of the Casio Triangle. Unfortunate for Kevin Peek that he's not able to get by the 29 car just yet. And this is for 11th on the racetrack, by the way. 11th overall. These are some prime points for these guys. For Peek, Boone, Leroy, Alvis, and everybody. These are some important points positions, and even Mark Reynolds is joining the fight. Mitch Buenaventura is not that far back. If they keep backing up like this at a train, who knows what could happen from this line of drivers as they continue to lose time ahead to Josh Lyon. And here we go. Leroy might look on Logan Boone.
Yeah, he's going to swing out wide. He's going to send it.
Oh, contact!
Oh, no.
They're both going to spin. Wow. Logan Boone goes for a slide. Eric Leroy.
Mitch to get by both of them here, possibly. Yeah, it looks like no other contact besides maybe Logan getting into the wall a little bit. But yeah, that's unfortunate. That is a tough spot to make a move, and you just saw why. It tightens up real tight through there, and just 2 into 1 does not go, and that was the result of that.
Oh, side by side here, Martin Crisp, Diego Eda. This is racing inside of the top 10 on the racetrack, nearly top 5. Wow, we joined these guys at a perfect time. Crisp from SimCity Racing doing everything he can to get Diego by the end of this race. This is for 6th, and these two Ferraris might go at blows one more time here. There we go, Diego with a mistake.
Yeah, Diego went wide, allowed the door open for Martin, but I don't think he was going to be able to get there. Yeah, Diego's able to cover him off before the S's here. Martin's going to want to stick right on his rear bumper, though. If he can stay close through this lap, he might have a shot to go at him again later on.
Thought maybe we had a crash happening. Mark Reynolds just lost a bunch of time, and he falls down behind Mitch Buenaventura. So Mitch is back up to 5th in class, 15th overall. That's actually going to try and save his day a little bit. So a lot is happening here in these last 5 minutes or so. Martin Crisp right on the back end of Diego Eda, and up ahead, Miguel Colon is on the back end of Scott Reister, just out of the hairpin here. This is a nice battle for second place as they're 12 seconds back of the race leader, Kevin Cantonio. This will be for sure a fight we talk about in these podium interviews between these two.
Yeah, we said the intensity is going to ramp up, and I think it has. We see battles all over the place now. Scott Reister and Miguel Colon up front, just behind, a couple spots behind. You got Diego and Martin still going at it, and Division 2 down there. It is action all over the place.
Oh, here we go.
Oh, he looks to the inside.
Dominic Turcotte finally getting passed up, maybe by Kevin Peek, outside for the hairpin, and Peek goes back behind.
Yeah, Dominic just took the inside and forced Peek to try to go the long way around the hairpin, and unfortunately couldn't get the grip off the corner. He's going to have to think of another way to get by Dominic here. Dominic just keeps fighting for all he can with that banged up Porsche. Kevin's going to keep running out of time. There's only 2.5 minutes left. We got 2 laps to go.
I gotta believe if this was a rain-enabled session, we'd have rain approaching the racetrack. I mean, look at the clouds that have built. Anyways, Martin Crisp here approaching Diego Eda. 2.5 minutes to go. This is 2 laps to go. And they're not so far back of Adam Brockway, who's possibly saving fuel to make sure he hangs on to a top 5.
Yeah, who's been able to save during the bulk of this race, and who's going to have to try to frantically save just enough to get him across the finish line now. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens at the end. But so far, Adam's still hanging on to 5th, but he's definitely got these 2 drivers.
Oh, a pit stop. Eric Leroy pitting within 2 minutes to go. Oh my gosh.
Which is interesting because we saw him go long. I wonder if he just didn't take enough fuel right there at the end, or if he maybe had some more damage than it looked like from that contact with Logan Boone.
Could have been a penalty as well.
Oh, I think that, yeah, that was according to the steward in iRacing chat. So that was the result of that. That would explain it.
Brockway, Era, and Crisp all fighting 5th, 6th, and 7th on the racetrack. Delgado, some 7 seconds back, has got Lucas Souza right behind. And then Dominic Turcotte down the order a little bit. There's Kevin Peak right on his back bumper as Kevin Cantonio comes around to take the white flag. 1 lap to go, brought to you by Whiplash Simcams into the final minute of racing. And the Soul Pack 15 is out to lunch once again as Jeff Fleischman's got a problem. He falls back a little bit. Now into the 10th spotting class. We've got battles popping up all over. Brockway having to pit at the end. He didn't save enough.
Yeah, we saw him kind of falling back toward the battle there with Diego and Martin, and I think, yeah, he just was too aggressive on the strategy, and it came back to bite him. Wasn't able to save enough in that second stint to make it to the end, and he's going to have to quick splash of fuel.
That could be valuable points for these guys in Division 2 that are trying to get some, and no, actually he's going to beat out most of them. Josh Lyon's going to go by, but the rest are going to be way back still. Yeah,
that's going to put Ricardo and Josh up a spot, though.
Yep.
At least, definitely Ricardo. Josh is going to be right in front of Adam here, so Adam might be able to get him back. But, back up to this battle for B2. Miguel's going to look at any possibility to get by Scott here in the final lap. They know they've lost their chance to run down Cantonio a long time ago, and these two have just been running right with each other seemingly all race. So the lap car nice and cordial, getting out of the way there. Miguel right on the back of Scott. He's going to want to get the run out of Spoon here. Can he do it? Can he get the car rotated, get the power down out of the corner? It looks like Scott's going to pull away just a little bit. I don't think that Miguel's going to have enough time now.
I don't think so, but we'll see down the long backstretch here at Suzuka. Meanwhile, into the Casio Triangle and leaving turn 18, Kevin Cantonio goes to victory lane again in the North American Racing League, and who knows, that might be enough to wrap up the championship. Miguel Colon not able to get to Scott Reister. Reister's going to take P2. Miguel Colon 3rd. Thomas Rayleigh 4th. Diego Etta 5th. Martin Crisp 6th. Ricardo Delgado's got the race lead in Division 2, but could it go awry here? Whoa, that was way too close for 2 drivers in different classes. Lucas Souza up the inside. Ricardo trying to defend. More contact nearly. And Ricardo is going to win this battle out. I think the run down the hill to the start-finish line. And yes, Ricardo just gets him and keeps the race win.
That was
Brockway.
So close.
Wow.
Another battle. Wow, Lion almost got rid of it, threw it all the way there, but he held on to it. P10 overall. As we look at Kevin Peak now coming across, P11. Good run for him. He finally got by Dominic Turcotte in those closing laps. We keep going down the order, looking at Logan Boone now. 16th overall. See Bradley Alves, Mitch Quinn of Ventura, a couple Sudi teammates crossing the line, synchronized.
And that's just about going to do it. No more battles in the racetrack. Everybody else is just going to fly by us at speed and pretty much wrap this thing up. There's really not much else on the speedway. It just drivers some 5, 6, 7 seconds apart or so, and we'll let everybody follow on through and then take a recap of our race results. There goes Chris Winstone. Philip Bedurka will be next. There's Bedurka for Move Over Racing. And then Ismail Elahi, I think, now written out of the championship fight officially. So unfortunate. Had a great run last week. Tonight, though, it's just not the same for Ismail. And unfortunate day there for the 111 car, or for the 11 car, rather. But we'll take a look back at the unofficial race results after this is all said and done. A couple more cars, I think, finishing up. And, boy, what an interesting day for sure here at Suzuka. We'll take a look at those unofficial race results. Cantonio, of course, with the race win. Reister 2nd, Miguel Colon 3rd. There's a full look at your top 10.
Yeah, Ricardo Delgado taking the win in Division 2. That's really good day for him. Saw that battle coming down, nail biting right at the end, holding off Lucas Souza for 7th place on track. But yeah, Adam Brockway falling back a little bit after his last lap pit stop even. So yeah, some major stories up and down the top 10 order. Kevin Peak bringing home Division 2 P2. So he's gonna be happy with that. Solid day, P10 overall.
A lot of solid days across the board, and Kevin Cantonia unanimously, I think, is going to win Driver of the Day, at least so far. If you're watching on YouTube, go vote real quick. There's still time before we interview him to finalize the Driver of the Day. Who knows? Somebody else could win real quick if everybody goes votes now. A vote is still live, and I'll stall a little bit to let everybody have a chance. That vote is live on YouTube. There we go. Here's a vote coming in. We don't have many votes, but so far, they're all for Kevin Cantonio. And I think that kind of goes without saying as you take a look at more of the field here. Mark Reynolds ends up 14th. I can't help but wonder what could have been for Mark if lap 1 hadn't happened the way it did. So unfortunate, but he ends up 14th overall, 5th, I believe, in class. Mitch Buenaventura beats him out, as does Bradley Alvis. Logan Boone there nearly had Mark at the end. T. Charles Anderson comes home with a decent result. Chris Sanchez, Eric Leroy do a decent job of trying to recover from their issues. Of course, Sanchez in the crash on lap 1, that might get looked at more. Leroy with the fuel concern, I believe, or penalty rather, from the Degners. And every other story just kind of writes itself. Scott Angelo, Jeff Fleischman there to complete your top 20. A look deeper in the field. And hey, we've got some more votes rolling in. There's still time as we roll through these results here, but you see Jacob Klein, Josh Lyon, Chris Winstone, Philip Badurka, Ismail Alahi all finish on the lead lap. From 26th on down, though, these drivers all one lap down or more in the case of Dean Kerr and others. Dean Kerr, of course, with that tow early in the race. We saw that incident, including Mitch Buenaventura down in turn 2. That seemed to be the problem spot for these drivers today. Turn 2 and 130R seemed to be the problem spots. I would expect 130R, Daniel, but I would not expect turn 2 to be a problem spot.
Yeah, turn 2 turned out to be a lot more brutal than we were expecting, but not completely shocking when we know how aggressive these drivers can be, especially on that first lap, and how we saw the results of what can happen when things don't quite go right. So yeah, unfortunate, but still had some great racing nonetheless.
And we'll grab Kevin Cantonio, this evening's race winner. We've said that a lot this season, Kevin, but does this win mean that much more, considering this might be enough to wrap up? I know the championship isn't wrapped. You could probably still lose it, but if you continue to just start and run these races calmly, this might be the one that seals the deal for your championship. Does that make it mean more?
Yeah, I don't know, every win counts. There's not a huge margin of points, so anything can happen with any race, especially with the this next endurance coming up. None of those races get dropped, so it all counts.
That's true, and you could still lose it, but if you show up and you just get through those races, I gotta believe it's going to be tough to beat you out, even if you're wrecked in one of those. It would take a big deal. So how do you marginalize the risk, I guess, at Phillip Island? How do you take everything that could happen and kind of shove it in a box in the closet and forget about it?
I don't know. I might be busy with PESC Q. It kind of clashes on the same day. So we'll see if I can slip in for the endurance race. I won't be able to make it the heat, unfortunately. So I think this championship might be over for me.
Wow. I'm trying to figure out how to react other than wow, I had no clue.
There's nothing I can do about it unless the schedule rearranges.
Wow. That's a bit of a bomb to drop on us here, Kevin. We've been talking you up about the championship all night long, and we had no clue, but drama here even after the checkered flag. Well, Kevin, congratulations. Maybe not the interview you want to be having, but what a season it's been. And, of course, if things were to continue as they've been going, I think your average finish now is probably 1.33 or so. Congratulations, again, on a season that has been, and hopefully we see you in that endurance round. Who knows?
Yeah, who knows? Maybe the people that are contending with me crash out both races. You know, maybe it works out for me somehow. But we'll see.
Well, best of luck to you regardless, both here in the North American Racing League and in PESC, if that ends up being what goes on for you. It's been a pleasure this season, it really has, and once again, congratulations.
Thank you.
Kevin Cantonio there, dropping a bomb on us. And we're going to stall for a second because I'm trying to work out more graphics bugs. But can you believe that? I can't.
Yeah, that's a big news. Some big news there. That's gonna really change the look of this championship heading into the final 2 points-paying rounds in the endurance next weekend.
That is a huge deal, and I really can't believe that. Honestly, I genuinely cannot believe that news has just been dropped for us. But let's grab second place Scott Reister this evening. This battle between he and Miguel Colon, what a fight it was. I'm glad we got the glimpses that we got, Daniel, because it was a lot of fun to watch these two.
Yeah, we were looking at that battle for P2 most of the race. Scott with us now, and you look like you had your hands full there battling Miguel. How was that to contend with all race?
First off, I followed him through all that action in the first turn, and luckily he chose the right line because I was just sticking to his bumper, and we made it through there. And I think he picked up a little damage, what he was telling me in the front end, so he was down on straightaway speed and happened to get a pretty good run out of the last chicane, so I was able to pass him on the straight. But yeah, I was working on a 0X, and after the pit stop, he put a lot of pressure on me, and I had to use up all my X's to stay in front of him. So it was fun. I was sweating.
Yeah, we saw he had a little damage after that first lap incident, and I was wondering if you were just kind of sticking behind him, maybe saving a little bit of extra fuel there in the first stint.
No, this track is very hard to pass on, and the Mercedes is quick down the straightaway, so I figured if I could get around him, it would be the best scenario, and have a good pit stop and just stay in front of him. But yeah, I wasn't going to try to save fuel behind him. I was just going to try to pass him.
Gotcha. Well, another podium run for you. How does that help your confidence heading into the final endurance rounds at Phillip Island next week?
Phillip Island's my favorite track. I'm always really quick on that track, and Mercedes is pretty quick there. So I'm excited for the final race. And I want to say thanks to Dino Filippo that helped me train for this track, because the Mercedes is not the car for this track, and he helped me dramatically to conserve my front tires, and my driving style changed it up dramatically to keep the car underneath me the whole race. So special thanks to him.
Well, that's awesome. Definitely paid off for you. Congrats on getting second place here, and look forward to maybe talking to you again next week.
Yes, hope so. Thank you, guys.
That was Scott Reister, finished P2 overall today. Andrew, I believe you're going to have the other half of that battle. We covered most of the race.
Yeah, Miguel Colon got a lot of looks this evening. Third place for the second week in a row. Miguel, I know last week you mentioned the new baby has been a big deal for you and the family. How big of a deal was it in practice for this week? Did you get some practice in? Do you feel like it helped you?
Well, I changed my hours of practice between 11:30 p.m. to 12:30 a.m. when everybody's sleeping, so which is not ideal because sometimes you get tired from work, you want to sleep. But I would say this one I put some effort to practice, have a good pace. Unfortunately, that incident that happened early, it gave me some aero damage. So I didn't have anything for Scott, and I knew as soon as he passed me, I was not gonna able to catch, and then that sequence on the pistol was gonna make it tough to me to try to go around him later. So, I think it was a good race overall.
It was definitely a good race for us overall, but how about the fact then that you are number one in this season, and you've always been kind of battling back from adversity, more adversity this evening, you get that damaged lap one. What happened from your perspective, and how big of a detriment was that?
Yeah, man. I saw the two cars bumping, and then my first thing was like, I don't have too much visibility to the other car on the right side when it went to the grass, so I didn't know if it was coming back to the track. So as soon as I pull out, then I see Chris also he was spinning, and when I hit the brakes, I think I hit him a little bit, and then I also was looking the rear mirror, so I didn't get stuck with the field behind, and then I see the whole pile behind me. I think it's like very hard to overreact at that point, seeing them bouncing a couple times. But yeah, like definitely that damage that I got early, try to keep up with Scott. Like I saw that in the SS, the slow corner, I was able to pull away, but in the straight, I feel like my car was like complete flat stall. So
Well, it's good to talk to you, and everything is all said and done here, Miguel. Congratulations on a solid day, and hopefully we're talking to you again in the endurance round at Phillip Island here in a couple weeks.
thank you guys. I want to say shout out to our community, Team PR, Scott Rister for putting this together. Today was a blast. I had a very fun driving here, so thank you guys.
Miguel Colon there after it's all said and done, and that means we can throw it down to our Division 2 race winner. It looks like it's the only Division 2 driver that's shown up this evening. No Kevin Peak, no Bradley Alvis. But, Dan, it is our number 1 driver down in Division 2, maybe in the championship here soon enough, Miguel's teammate, Ricardo Delgado.
Yeah, we got Ricardo here, and that's able to bring home the win in Division 2. Walk us through your race. We know there was pandemonium kind of on that first lap. How are you able to get through that and have a solid run?
Yeah, I didn't think I had the pace to beat those two guys up front today. I mean, they were fast. And Jake got damaged, and then he got out of the pits in front of me. I just was keeping the pace with him, but I don't think I was faster than him. So it's a bomb. They got damaged on that first lap. I had to stop the car basically a complete stop because I saw the first touch, and they went like to the barriers, and then when I hit the gas again to go, and then another incident and I had to completely stop the car. Luckily, I didn't have anyone close to me on the back, so I wasn't hit on anything, and that's what gave us the lead.
Yeah, you did a great job navigating through that wreck, and looked like the middle of the race was pretty calm, but the end of it picked right back up for you. You and Lucas Souza had quite the battle those last few laps. Walk us through that and how you were able to hold him off under so much pressure.
Yeah, I saw Lucas getting close before the pit stops, and then I believe he got to the pits trying to undercut me, and I felt like no pressure at all and was able to put some lap times together to defend from the undercut when I did my pit stop. And then at the end, I was running out of tires, and we went side by side by 130 yard, and then at the end, I know he wasn't on my division, but we're getting close to the end on the championship, so every point mattered. So that's why I tried to push it all the way.
I was going to ask you about that. Came into this race 25 points behind, and a solid run here. Most of your competitors were 6 spots behind you, so decent points day for you. How do you think you can carry that into next week and the endurance rounds, and maybe get back into this championship fight?
Yeah, well, I'll give my all. I've been close to it, but haven't get it yet, so we'll try to do it this season.
Well, you definitely got the speed to fight for the championship, so good luck, and might be talking to you again next week if all goes well.
Yeah, guys, thank you for your broadcast. Have a good one.
Yep, that was Ricardo Delgado, our Division 2 winner, and I don't see the other Division 2 drivers joining us in the booth, but plenty of information and action and reaction and all sorts of stuff from those driver interviews that I think will keep us excited over.
That, and guess who ends up winning driver of the day, which makes him ineligible even if he can make the endurance round next time out. Kevin Cantonio wins driver of the day today, which is an extra little bonus for him. Nice job there. But we can take a look once again at what's upcoming for us this season. One more round to go at Phillip Island Circuit in a week and a few days, August 10th, so 9 days, I suppose, as today is August 1st. That's easy math for us, but gonna be an exciting round for sure to cap this thing off, cap this season off. Phillip Island is a very tough circuit, kind of an old school circuit. It really follows the lay of the land, Daniel, and has that old school feel to it.
Yeah, the natural terrain circuits are great for racing, great for spectating, just about everything you'd want in a racetrack. So I expect that track to put on a great show, and can't really think of many better places to end a season, especially one that's going to be as exciting as this, where I think both championships are kind of blown wide open based on what we heard in those interviews.
We'll have to see what happens as we go down and take a look at what's upcoming for us at Pit Stop TV in the next week or so of racing. We've got the Auto Club Speedway for the Icon Cup Series this Sunday evening, August the 4th. Then we head out to the Milwaukee Mile with the Misfit Touring Series and their summer championship. They'll go to with the Wisconsin Mile Track with the late model stock car on Monday, August 5th. Then Tuesday, our first Tuesday broadcast all summer long. We head out, I know it's not on this graphic, but we've got the BRB Butt Kicker Cup Series checking in for their first round on the channel, but not quite the first round of their season. We're picking up mid-season with them at Indianapolis on Tuesday, and then, of course, Saturday, Phillip Island Circuit for us with the North American Racing League. A lot of racing coming up, a lot of great racing coming up, and Daniel, plenty of places to watch it.
Absolutely. Follow along everything Pit Stop TV does on social media, even the website, pitstoptv.com, Facebook, Instagram, Twitch, YouTube, and X. Find us all those places and stay up to date on all the racing action that I don't think you want to miss. We've put on a great show in this North American Racing League, and all the other series I know have been excellent as well. So follow along. Don't want to miss anything that we're doing here on Pit Stop TV.
Well, that'll do it for us this evening. Thanks for tuning in, and a big nod, of course, to our partners with the series, Moradness, JS Consulting, and Screw Compressor Service Incorporated, for allowing us to get to and from the virtual racetrack for every round of the North American Racing League. And a big thank you as well to our partners with the channel, Whiplash Simcams, ATVO, and CC's Business. It might be growing by the next broadcast, that list of partners with us, who knows, but it's definitely exciting as always to head out to our next round and head out of Suzuka then with a whole new points battle on hand in both divisions. We'll have to wait and see what goes on for us in round 6 at Phillip Island in a week's time. Thank you for being here. Thank you for watching this evening. It's been a pleasure as always. The North American Racing League never disappoints, even with that turn 1, lap 1 drama. The contact between Eduardo Pecorini and Chris Sanchez leading to one heck of a mess down there in turn 2. Boy, that was something to watch. You can watch it back on the replay, of course, but that's set up for one interesting round this afternoon/evening. Again, thank you for tuning in. We'll see you all next time at Phillip Island. That's where we're going. At Phillip Island for the North American Racing League. Hopefully you join us for the Icon Cup Series on Sunday at Auto Club.